Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Larry Jacobs. Today is the 5th day of April, 2023. Welcome to today's edition of Pre-K-12 Education Talk Radio. I've got old friends here today. A new friend from an old friendly company of mine, okay, good company I just love. I got Amanda Landavazo, and I hope I pronounced your name right, Amanda. Okay, Amanda is the program manager for Bookshare, which is a Benetech initiative. And if you don't know about those, please go over to bookshare.org or benetech.org. And Benetech, Benetech, they are linked over here as you're watching this. And that's a shortened way to say beneficial technology. All right, what Benetech does, which is Bookshare, their initiative, all right, for your students with print disabilities, okay, like dyslexia and that sort of thing, they can give you accessible materials. Blindness, another example, they can give you accessible materials for your students at no charge. This is a lovely company. It's a great initiative. I work closely with them, okay, and they are real supporters of equity and access to learning for kids who have reading difficulties. All right, and we're going to talk to Amanda about that. We're going to archive the show at ace-ed.org, and the big news is we have just put up our brand new issue of our online journal, Equity and Access. The brand new April-May issue is now up there. It is excellent. Has a big article on the front cover about what's going on with banning books in schools, which we find very distasteful, to say the least. All right, so please check it out. It's a survey results are compiled into this article. It is just absolutely excellent. You know, we are the Consortium for Equity in Education. ace-ed.org is our home website, and we invite you. Everything we do over there is free, so we invite you to join our consortium. And especially in these days and times, if you're an educator, or parent, whatever you might be, all right, please join with us. Get your voice heard. And we do believe in industry voice. We believe in educator voice. We believe in parent voice to get the word out there with our magazine and our podcast. It's all free at ace-ed.org. The new issue is up there. You'll love it, so please go enjoy it. And without further ado, let me bring on the one, the only Amanda Landavazo. And how am I doing on your last name? It's Larry here, Amanda.
Good morning, Larry. That's really good, honestly. Amanda Landavazo.
Landavazo. See, I was going land. That's my Philly accent. I was going land. It's Lon. I like that better. Okay, Landavazo.
That's okay. Very, very close.
I tried, and it's a beautiful name, by the way, Landavazo. I like that.
Thank you.
I
married into it, so I can't take too much credit.
Yeah, you did good. Okay, I don't know how good looking he is, but he's got a great last name, so that's cool.
So I gotta say, Larry.
Pardon me?
Go ahead.
Again. No, you go.
I was just gonna say, you did such a nice summary on Benetech and Bookshare. I feel like you're taking my job.
Well, I know your company for a long time, and I know how hard you folks work over there to get books and reading materials into the hands of students and adults who need it, okay, who won't be able to read otherwise, okay? And it's just so darn important. And I want teachers, and you want this too, I want educators to take advantage of your services. That's what it's there for. It's all free. Okay, so I hope people do this. You're going to tell us about this. How long have you been there? Bookshare.org and Benetech.org. How long have you been there, Amanda?
Yeah, coming up on 5 years for me this summer that I've been at Benetech.
Wow, what did you do before that?
I actually worked in for-profit education technology. Before that, I worked as a school social worker. Benetech kind of combines these two things in a world that I found healing, so I got to work with students with this educational technology world that I feel like is such, a scalable solution to some issues that the education world has. And so kind of got to combine those two things working for Benetech. Been a really fun ride.
Yeah, it is a good mix of your educational technology and the need to want to do something really, really, really good. Okay, in a world that provides it free for students and all that. I can't say that enough. I just hope people just go over there and constantly do. I mean, you have literally, I know this for a fact. You guys help us circulate our magazine. Yeah, you know, you have hundreds of thousands of educators. All right,
Yeah.
that depend on Bookshare and Benetech. All right, we want that to grow. And you know, we can talk about this. I mean, to me, this is really important. But in this day and age, uh, whenever we can capture technology to do the right thing, if I may, especially in this crazy age of AI, or what's going on with all that sort of stuff. Well, it's just nuts. Okay, it's cool, but it's cool. And it'll settle down like everything, but it is just a little bit nuts. You know, do you do a lot of work talking directly with educators? What do you do there as program manager? What do you do?
Yeah, I do. So,
by the way, it's not a job interview. I'm just curious so everybody can get to know you better.
So that honestly is probably the best part about my job. So, you know, as the program team, we're really tasked with outreach and advocacy, both at a macro level. So I'm doing a lot of state level outreach, talking to, you know, state directors of special education and things like that, as well as that micro level, work specifically in very targeted communities. And then even smaller than that, one of the things that I get to do is run what we call roundtables, and I get to bring in just groups of teachers and students and talk to them about Bookshare, talk to them about, you know, the state of education right now, what issues and roadblocks they're currently facing, how we might be able to help, you know. So, yeah, I get quite a bit of face time with Bookshare users, both teachers and students, and by far the best part of my job is getting to talk with them.
It is cool. It's great that you can do that. I enjoy it too when I get to talk to educators and people in the industry. Okay, about it. What are you hearing from folks out there? What's the anecdotal generic stuff you're hearing? And I know it's different, like rural, urban, you know, all that sort of stuff is different. Everybody's there. What are you hearing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's that you've been hearing. Teachers are exhausted. They do not have time. There is a crazy high level of turnover right now, which is something that we're finding to be a really interesting kind of hurdle for Bookshare usage specifically, because we are such kind of a niche product. If you haven't heard of us before, you know, and the Bookshare champion at your school leaves, who kind of takes up that flag to continue getting books to students? And so this turnover issue is something that, you know, we're seeing affecting us, and I know that it's affecting the way that the teachers are able to operate within their schools as well.
You know, that's a very interesting point, that we do have turnover. All right, a lot of people are leaving, and unfortunately, we'd love to see that stop. Okay, but that's for a different show. Okay, but you know, it's amazing. We have to you make the point that we constantly have to remind teachers and principals and superintendents what's out there for their needs, because the people are changing. That's very, very important. I really appreciate you saying that. And you know, every teacher has to spread the word to every other teacher, etc. You know, how are they? Let me ask you this: how are they using Bookshare? What are you finding? You know, because everybody's always trying to finesse a product, make it better, make it easier, make it more well used, etc. How do you guys finesse? What are you learning from all these conversations, and what do you hope to learn?
Yeah, I think well, kind of going back a little bit to this question of what are we hearing from teachers. One thing that we have seen a positive increase in is teachers willing to adopt technology and digital solutions to problems that they have in the classroom. You know, I think so many teachers were kind of forced to start doing that over the pandemic when we switched to virtual school, that now that we're back in the classroom, you know, maybe 5-10 years ago, some of these teachers would have thought, no, we're sticking with paper and pencil, and now they're a little more open to looking at a digital solution. And so,
very interesting.
There is more willingness, I think, to even consider an option like Bookshare for students. And we've really found success when teachers are really kind of meeting students where they are in the classroom. One thing that we really believe here is that access to education is a human right, and we want students to be able to access the educational materials that they need at the same time that their peers do. And right. One of the things that teachers are doing even beyond that, Bookshare obviously has those materials for your students in the classroom, textbooks, the novels they need, A Tale of Two Cities, whatever that might be. But teachers now are even taking it a step further than that and saying, hey, what do you want to read? It's really hard to learn to love to read if all you're accessing are...
Well, I'll tell you, it's very hard these days with all the other things bearing down on kids. Okay, it's hard to learn. It's harder now to learn to read than it was when I was a kid. Okay, and that was bad enough. My parents were yelling about the onslaught of television. Okay, that was the bad thing. Okay, hello, that gives you a little hint about how old I am. Okay, before that, I'm sure it was radio. Okay, what are you listening to that crap for? And you could be reading the book. Okay, and today it's even worse. It's everything times 10. Okay.
Yeah.
And to build a love of reading is really important. And that, which brings me, I got to ask you this, Amanda. I know how great Bookshare is to help kids with I'll say learning challenges. All right, but there's another side to the equity question. A lot of schools are under-resourced. I'm thinking of urban schools, and rural schools, very rural schools as well. They just don't have the capabilities that a big, expensive suburban school might. All right. And I'm curious, what are the rules for using Bookshare? Do you have to have a physical or an intellectual disability in order to use them? Or can a class of urban kids in an under-resourced school or rural use it as well? How's it work?
Yeah, so to qualify for the full Bookshare library, you do have to have what we call a print disability. We operate under a specific set of copyright laws. We don't actually operate under, say, special education law or IDEA or something like that. So we essentially have these agreements with publishers, almost 1,000 publishers at this point, that we've said, hey, if you give us to your digital materials, we will only give that access to students who qualify with a print disability. And so you mentioned this earlier, print disability generally falls under 3 categories. We're talking visual impairments, a learning disability that affects a student's ability to read, so like dyslexia being the most common, as well as physical disabilities. So if you say have cerebral palsy and can't hold a book or turn pages, then you would qualify for Bookshare as well. That being said, we do have a collection of freely available books that are like no longer under copyright, books that you would access, say, in like the Gutenberg Library or something like that. And anyone can access those books on Bookshare. So the vast majority of the collection you do have to qualify for under that print disability, but we do have some freely available books for everyone.
It's so important to know, and I'm thinking, is it like Charles Dickens? Is that the kind of thing we're talking about that's there for everyone?
Right. So books that are, the classics, things that are no longer under copyright, would be available for everyone.
It's just amazing. I mean, it's there. It's for everybody. Yeah. Okay. It's just I was that kid who took a book everywhere. I was, one of the little girls you see running around that just always had a book. I was always reading. And it really is a passion of mine to make sure that anyone who
could be that kid who loved reading so much has access to those books, because there are a huge portion of our population of students who, you know, can comprehend at their grade level. They want to access the same books that their peers are accessing, but they simply can't read that printed book. And so if they can get access to that book through Bookshare for free, whether it's for audio version or for highlighted text-to-speech, or if they need the Braille version of the book, like, we just want students to be able to access books in the way that they need so that they can read the same things that their peers are reading.
Yeah, it's so darn important. It really, really is. And you know, on your website, it says educators get textbooks and educational materials. Students need an easy-to-read format. Students and parents, adult access books, and global, which brings up language, okay? How's language fit in? People in over 70 countries access Bookshare to pursue employment and education. Well, do they all have a physical problem or a learning problem? How's that work?
Yeah, so no matter what country you're accessing Bookshare from, you still do need to qualify under that print disability to access the full Bookshare library that's available in your country. So, you know, if you are a Bookshare user in Canada or India, you still do need to qualify. And, you know, we actually have a fairly robust international team who is
I bet you do.
spreading Bookshare out into the world as well. You know, I know this is focused on U.S. K-12, but when you talk about international education, specifically for students with disabilities, those students rarely have, you know, the access they need. They may not even be in school anymore. And so getting them this access is also important to us outside of the
I love what you do, as I keep saying, okay, it's just so darn important. I have to ask this, is there a difference in the way you work with, like, an urban district or a rural district? Okay, do they look at different types of programs or support, or is it just generic across the board of K-12? What are the differences in the types of programs?
You know, as I'm sure you and your listeners are very aware, there are definitely differences between urban and rural districts. You know, very rural districts may be getting less government funding because of, you know, the size of their student body. That could lead to fewer tech options that they have available for their schools. They may have less reliable internet service, access to fewer qualified staff, all of these things. But I think in the context of this conversation, especially when we're talking about Bookshare, I think there's some major similarities between the needs of very urban and very rural districts, in that they're often underfunded, under-resourced, understaffed. And so getting them access to tools that are free, like Bookshare, free,
Bookshare.org. Free.
Both,
you may continue.
That's right. Both in access to the books is free, but also the tools to read those books. So Bookshare has created a suite of free tools so that really meeting the students where they are, they can read how they want. We haven't really touched on this, but, you know, Bookshare is available on your phone, both iPhone and Android, on a tablet, on your computer. Maybe students are, you know, getting a Chromebook at school or something, Braille devices, audio-only devices. And so you're able to, say, access your books at school. Maybe you have a Chromebook at school, and you can go home, and maybe all you have at home is mom's iPhone. You can open your book right up on that iPhone with a free tool. Again, it opens your book up right where you left off at school. You can keep reading. We touched on this internet access issue. You can actually download Bookshare books for offline access as well. So maybe you don't have internet at home. You can still access your books that you may need.
It's so great. And I gotta ask you. I gotta stop you for 1 second. You said something,
Sure.
and the technology on this is amazing. Everybody knows what a book in Braille is, but you said Braille devices. Okay, what is a Braille device?
So there are lots of different devices, and I will not pretend to be an expert on this, but
you're more of an expert than me. You're more of an expert than me. Believe me.
That
it's
lots
fascinating.
Of students use. Yeah, I agree. Lots of students use what's called a refreshable Braille display, and so it literally will refresh the Braille that a student can read with their fingers, sentence by sentence or paragraph by paragraph. So you can download a Braille file out of Bookshare, upload it into your Braille device, and a student can then read that refreshable Braille using that device that they have.
Wow. Wow. It's all, and you're making this available to everybody, all these types of things, as kids need it, as adults need it, whoever.
That's right. Yep. However, whatever format a student needs is available. And we also know that students no one really wants to feel different or be different. And so there are also programs that a lot of teachers use so that students who are using Bookshare are accessing those books in the same way that their peers are. So, you can download a Bookshare book and upload it into Google Classroom, and a student can, open it in Google Classroom. Lots of schools, your listeners may be familiar with Read and Write or Snap and Read, these programs that all the students are using, not just Bookshare students. You can open Bookshare books and read them with those programs. So your student is accessing books in actually the same way that their peers are, which can be really empowering as well, that, a student doesn't have to feel different. They don't have to leave the room during, silent reading time or whatever it is. Yeah. We heard a story recently about a girl shared a story, an elementary school student, and she was so excited because she used to get pulled every time her class did book club because she couldn't participate in book club. And she got Bookshare. She could get her book for book club.
Wow.
And she was able to stay and participate.
Says it all.
And, it becomes a lot more than just reading. This is, I've heard you talk about, social emotional learning time. These are things that are really important for a student. They need to be involved in these things. And so, getting a student access to something like that, it's kind of what keeps us going over here. those stories.
It's just fabulous. I mean, you hear a story like that. It's so good to hear. It's so important. It's just amazing. And the other thing, I'm on your Bookshare.org website, and I just want to tell people that the books that are on there, and they're working with thousands of publishers here, okay, and the books that you're highlighting, okay, they're books that are read aloud books, best-selling fiction, this is an interesting phrase, human narrated audio books for kids. And narrated audio books for kids. I don't know, why are you putting the word human in there? What am I missing?
So that's actually really interesting and is a new initiative on our side. So the vast majority of books in the Bookshare collection, and the reason that we can have so many books, over 1 million, is that generally our books are read if you open them up in the reader and you want to do the dial highlighting, where the words highlight as they are read out loud. That is automated text to speech. It's their automated voices that are built into the program within your computer or phone. However, recently, within the past year, we have actually started ingesting human narrated audio. So like the books you would open on Audible, they are just a human narrator reading the book. And so we have that audio for, it's still a fairly small collection compared to the larger library, but we have started slowly ingesting that human narrated audio. So if you want to listen to a human read Harry Potter, we have that. Yep. And you could do that as well. So, and again, a smaller collection, but that is something that we're starting to add, and it's really exciting.
It is exciting because the human voice adds inflection and all that sort of thing. Okay,
right,
to
course.
it, which
Yeah.
of course a robot can't. All right, and
Yeah.
I guess my point is I'm looking at the ones that you've highlighted here, and a lot of these are very inclusive. You always talk about kids that they want to see who they are and the things they're reading. And the books you're highlighting show a lot of. There's one here by Stacey Abrams, show a lot of African American kids. Okay, and I just think it's important that all these things are there for everybody. Right,
absolutely.
for absolutely
I mean,
everybody. It's just
we're
great.
always, trying to increase the size of the library. Obviously, we want the books that people want to read, but we have a real focus and a renewed focus in your point exactly, that our content, we don't just have a lot of it, but we have content that actually reflects our students and our readers, both as we were talking, urban and rural environments.
Yeah.
We want more diversity in the content of our books, not just the race and the background of the characters, but languages. We're always trying to add more non-English titles.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's good.
And
that's great.
One program that we have now, we have a group of what we call outreach coordinators who are working in 5 specific communities around the country. We have them in, let me see if I can get them all, Memphis, Atlanta, Detroit, Las Vegas, and Albuquerque. And so they are working, are from those communities. They work either within or adjacent to the school system in those communities. They live there, they're from there. And, this is allowing us to work within the community organizations, but it's also allowing us to better meet the specific needs of those communities when we talk about our content. So, for example, we're really pushing right now in Albuquerque to add more books in the Navajo language because our outreach coordinator there is working with tribal schools in the area.
Wow, great. And that's very important.
So,
that's very important.
We want to make sure that they're able, one, to access books that are in their native language or a language that maybe they are trying to learn, that we're just adding more books with characters that look like them. And that's true both of tribal schools in
like
Mexico.
them. Wow.
Yeah. And so
I got to ask, Amanda, I got to ask you on this. We always talk about when we talk about educators, we think teachers, all right, with the work you're doing at books here. But I just wanted to ask you, just talk about this at the school libraries. Are they accessing everything? How do you work with school libraries? It's the easier way to ask it.
Yeah, we have, I wouldn't say that we always kind of go through the library, but we have a lot of librarians who are really excited about working with Bookshare. I think that, they view it as a way to make sure that students can get the books that they want. When I talk to school librarians, these are people who are just kind of psyched on reading. They want students to read books. They want them to read more. They want them to read books that they enjoy. And so if we can be a tool to help get those books to a student, I think they're really on board. We heard a story recently about a student who was in 8th grade, and during one of his classes, they would go to the library and everybody would grab a new book, and that was a part of their lesson. And he was having to choose books that were at a 2nd or 3rd grade reading level, because that was the level of print book that he could read. He could comprehend grade level material, but couldn't print read that book. And can you imagine a 13, 14-year-old boy having to walk out of a library with a 2nd grade book? I just can't imagine how that had to have made him feel. And so his school, his librarian, got him set up with Bookshare. And so when his peers went and picked out a book, he would choose a book that he wanted to read, take it to the librarian, and she would assign him that book in Bookshare. Still go, have the experience, pick out his book, and then it got assigned to him in Bookshare, and he could access it there instead.
You know, it's the anecdotal stories like that I just love. I mean, it's just those little the anecdotal stories sum it all up. Okay, this makes a difference to individuals, and I'm going to say it again, everybody. It's free. It's free. Please take advantage. Amanda, thank you. This was great. I really enjoyed meeting you. Thank you for doing such a good job of explaining all this.
Of course.
I loved it. Okay, it was great. Say hi to everybody over there, will you?
I will, and I'll just say last thing here is that I'm really here to help. Honestly, you've done a great job of sending people to Bookshare.org, but if anyone out there is using Bookshare, if they want to, if they feel stuck, feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm just Amanda L. at Bookshare.org, and we're happy to help you individually, set up training for your school, whatever it might be. We're really here as a resource to all of you. So, Larry, thank you so much for having me on today. I love having these conversations. So this is a really great way to start my day.
And I'm going to put, if it's okay with you, since you just said I usually don't do this, but I will if you give me permission, I'll put your email up on site here. Okay? Would that be
Absolutely.
good? Amanda L. at Benetech.org. Is that right?
That's right. That's right. At Benetech.org or at Bookshare.org. They both come to my inbox.
Okay, but it's Amanda L., correct?
Amanda L. That's right.
At Bookshare or Benetech.org. I'll put that up here. Okay? That way they'll hopefully get in touch. Thank you.
Thanks
this
so
is
much,
wonderful.
Larry. All right. Have a good day.
Thank you, Amanda. Take
Bye.
care. Bye-bye. Wow. There's such good people over there. Please check it all out. It's just so darn important. Bookshare.org, Benetech.org. And we're at ace-ed.org. We're the new issue of our journal, Equity and Access, is up, and we're pretty proud of it. So check it all out. Everything's free for what we do over there and here on the podcast. I'm Larry Jacobs. This is Pre-K-12 Education Talk Radio. Thank you so much for listening, and have a good day.